привет! Меня зовут Настя Петрова, и сегодня я
Hello
бы хотела
everyone,
поговорить
my
с
name
вами
is
о
Nastya
том, почему
Petrova,
повышение
and today I
осведомленности–
would
это
like to
действительно
discuss
важный процесс,
how
а не процесс и
initiatives,
процессы, и как быстро и оперативно из него
security
сделать
awareness
своего
initiatives
помощника.
are
И,
important and
конечно,
how to
хотелось
make
бы
it
начать
into your
с
friend.
того, почему
We
вообще
shall
мы
start
задались этим
with,
вопросом.
with the reasons
На
why
самом
we
деле
even ask this
статистика не
question.
очень
The
позитивная,
statistics
и мы
is
можем
not
сделать
very
вывод, что
positive,
повышение
unfortunately,
осведомленности–
and we
это
can
не
say
такой
that raising
популярный процесс.
awareness
И
is
чаще
not
всего мы
as popular
воспринимаем его
as we thought
именно
it
как
to be.
требование
We usually
регулятора,
consider
да,
it some
процесс
kind of
ради
regulatory
процесса, что-то, что
requirements
мы
or
делаем
maybe
для
process for
галочки.
the sake of
Но
being a
при всем
process,
при
something
этом
we
мы
do just to
действительно
check a
можем
box. But
из
at the
этого
same time,
процесса
we
повышения
can
осведомленности
take this
сделать
process of
историю,
awareness,
которая
raising
будет
awareness,
помогать
we
нам в
can
том
make into
числе
a
бороться
story
и с
that would help
инцидентами
us to
информационной
fight
безопасности.
incidents of
И,
information
соответственно,
security
для того,
and other
чтобы
problems
начать
too.
этот
So
процесс,
in order
нам
to
необходимо
start
выстроить
this
программу,
process,
программу
we
повышения
need to
осведомленности.
build a
На мой взгляд,
program
она
for raising
состоит из
awareness.
6
I
основных
believe it
этапов,
consists
по
of
которым мы
6
сейчас как
main
раз-таки и
stages, and we
пройдемся.
will go through each of them
Первый
now.
и, наверное, самый
First stage,
важный–
and I
это
think the most
ответить на
important one,
вопрос,
is to
зачем мы
answer
это
the
делаем.
question, why
Вообще,
do we
зачем
need
нам
to do
повышение
this? Why in
осведомленности?
general we need
Каких
to raise
целей мы
awareness?
хотим добиться?
What
Какие
kind of goals
задачи
we try to
решить?
reach? What kind of
Есть ли у нас
tasks
какие-то
and problems
проблемы, с которыми эта
we want to
история
solve?
может помочь?
What are the
Соответственно,
other
дальше
problems
очень
these can
важный
help with?
аспект, о котором
Next,
часто
it's
забывают
important
люди, которые занимаются повышением осведомленности,
to
это
realize,
определение
and many miss
текущего
this step,
статуса. Что это
is to
такое? Определение
define the
текущего
status quo.
статуса поможет нам в
So
дальнейшем
why and
оценивать
what is
нашу
that?
эффективность,
It helps
оценивать то,
us
как наша
assess
программа
the
работает и
efficiency of
понять, с
our
чем мы имеем
program
дело на самом
and
деле.
to understand what
Самый
we are actually
креативный и
facing.
интересный процесс,
The most
конечно
creative
же,
and the
на
most
этап
interesting
нашей
process
программы– это
of
разработка
this
самой
or
программы. На
stage of
мой
our program
взгляд,
is
это та
the
история,
developing the program
которая нам,
itself. I
людям
think
из
this is something
информационной
that
безопасности,
people from
зачастую, да,
information
таким строгим
security,
техническим специалистам,
very
позволяет
strict, very technical
реализовать какое-то
specialists,
свое творческое начало,
here on this
показать,
stage
что
we
мы не
can
только скучные
use
люди,
our
которые сидят
creative
за компом,
skills
но и
and
сделать
just to
что-то,
demonstrate
что может
that
быть
we are
действительно
not boring machines,
прекрасным.
we are actual people
Следующий
who are
этап– это,
capable
конечно,
of something
реализация
beautiful.
программы. Это самый
Next step is
масштабный,
the
большой,
implementation of a program.
волнительный по
It's
времени.
major, it's a
И
big
это
step, it's
то,
very
что позволяет
anxious
нам уже
one,
видеть
but it's also something that helps us
проделанную
to
работу.
see
После того, как
the
наша
work
программа
we did
прошла, нам
before.
необходимо
After
оценить ее
that,
эффективность.
we
Без
have to
оценки
assess
эффективности
the
мы не будем
efficiency of
понимать,
our
стоит ли нам
program.
вообще в целом
Without
в будущем
this,
этим
we
заниматься.
wouldn't
Оценивать
know if we
эффективность
should
можно по
continue
разным
doing
критериям.
this
О
or
них я
not.
расскажу
We
чуть
could have
позже.
different metrics, and I will
Но
mention
после
them
того, как
later.
мы прошли этот
After
цикл,
that, after
нельзя
the whole cycle,
останавливаться. Это
we
бесконечная
shouldn't
работа,
stop.
которая
It's a
идет
continuous
вот
effort,
такой
it goes
петлей.
on and
Мы
on.
должны
It's
постоянно
basically a
обновлять нашу
loop,
программу. Зачем
and
мы
we
это
have
делаем?
to
Для того,
update
чтобы
our
повышать ее
program.
эффективность и
Why
продолжать
do we do
решать
this?
все те
In
цели и
order to
задачи,
improve its
которые мы перед
efficiency and in
собой
order to solve
поставили.
the
И
same
сейчас
or
я
the
бы
old
хотела рассказать
tasks
о
and
том,
problems and the
как
new
вот
ones.
эти этапы мы
And now I would
реализовали
like
у
to
себя в компании Biocad.
say how
Возможно,
we
эта
use
история как
this, how
раз-таки
we
поможет вам
implemented all
понять,
the
как можно
stages at
масштабировать
Biocad.
историю
Maybe
про
this
повышение
story can help
осведомленности
you
в
understand how you
каждой
can
из ваших организаций.
scale up
Конечно,
this
начали мы с
information
того,
security
что мы
awareness in
задались
your own
вопросом, а чего мы от
organizations.
этого
So
хотим,
first of
какие
all,
цели мы
we
преследуем.
ask the
И,
question,
конечно, основное,
what do
самое
we want and
масштабное–
what kind
это
of
создание культуры
tasks and
информационной
goals do we
безопасности.
pursue?
Наверняка
First of all,
каждый из
it's
нас
the creation of
вкладывает что-то
information
свое в это
security.
понятие,
Probably
но
people
лично для меня и моих
hear
коллег
different
культура
things when somebody
информационной
says information
безопасности–
security.
это
But for
то,
me, the
когда
culture of information
технические
security is that
специалисты,
when technical
лаборанты,
specialists, when
бэк-офис работают
back
вместе
office,
для
front
того, чтобы
office, everyone
сохранить
works
то,
together
что мы
in order
делаем
to
в
preserve
целостности,
whatever
да,
we
там,
do
обеспечить
in
доступность и
its completeness
конфиденциальность. Это
and
процесс, который
provide secure
мы
access
развиваем вместе
that will not
и
be
работаем
violated
как
by
одна
hackers.
большая
It's a
целая
process,
команда.
and the whole
Конечно,
team works to support this
немаловажной
process.
задачей является и
Another point is
минимизирование
that
количества инцидентов, которые связаны с человеческим
incidents
фактором.
have to
Что
be
это за
minimized,
инциденты? Это может
especially
быть
human
утечка
incidents.
корпоративной
This could
информации,
be
нарушение
corporate data leaks,
режима
this could be
персональных данных, конечно же, фишинг. Это то,
personal
что
data
может, да,
violation,
посредством каких-то
this could be
действий
phishing
или
attacks,
бездействий
some kind
сотрудника
of activity
привести
or
к
inactivity
проблемам в
of
нашей
an
организации.
employee, which could bring
В
about
целом,
problems to
когда
an
мы
organization.
понимаем, какие
In general,
инциденты мы можем
when we
решать, да, или
understand what
какие мы
kind of
можем, в
incidents
принципе,
could be solved
регистрировать в нашей
or
компании, мы
what
понимаем,
can
что
be
нам надо
registered, we
сотрудников
understand
обучить
that our employees should be taught to pinpoint those threats, to pinpoint those incidents so that they would understand what kind of problems they're dealing with. And once they understand this, they would be able to solve them effectively, or at least have a certain procedure, steps they should follow, and by doing so, will raise their awareness and increase their effectiveness in fulfilling their actual roles, but also covering the information security aspect. First and foremost, it's about raising awareness, providing information on what happened. For example, they should tell the information IT guys and information security people that something bad happened. In many cases, when there is an incident and we might become anxious and nervous, and because of that, some people might fail to have the correct response. Maybe they will not tell about it right away, or maybe they will not tell about it to the right people. Next stage is to define the status quo. When we started to develop information security in our company, we decided that the best case solution would be to have a pen test. And we wanted to use social engineering too. We decided to send phishing links, phishing emails with links to different forums to input their credentials. We phoned them, we asked for passwords so that we could test a new corporate portal. We even left USB sticks on the parking lot, in cafeteria, in elevators, anywhere. And when we saw the results, so obviously you can see them on the screen, these are some huge numbers. We hoped not to see these numbers, but this helped us get the real result. And we have to increase our, we have to work to mitigate the risks and information security aspects. And the second stage was testing. We tested our main policies for information security. We tested our regulatory acts, which we give to our employees. And I wouldn't say it was super positive. It demonstrated that not everyone was able to pass the test on first try. Well, what could be the meaning? Maybe the questions were too complicated, the language was not clear and concise, because, for example, my colleague says that you are trying to explain this to a kindergarten, a toddler basically, and we try to use this principle. And then we have the most interesting part, the development of the program itself. It is the core, it is the most interesting, the most creative part of our life. So what did we do? We defined the main topics and the main themes which would allow us to reach the specific goals faster. Then we defined the tools, what can be used for us to reach our goal. In our case, it was communication channels. What kind of communication channels do we use? How do we send the information? And it's very clear to the materials used, so that's why I put them together on the same slide. For example, we decided that we needed targeted groups of employees who are susceptible to phishing attacks from potential malicious users, real malicious users too, and the people who work the most with the information which is actually sensitive information. We had these small targeted groups and we started sending them materials which were aimed specifically at this group. It's not just some general approach, it was very tailored, something very specific which could make those people understand that this is something about them and this is how they affect everything that happens in their company. Another tool was to use different phishing imitation attacks, open source SaaS solutions, sandboxes. There are many options on the market. You can choose something that suits your needs. Maybe you can create a template, maybe you can forge domain names, and so on. Next, we define the regularity. How often will we have this raising awareness program? It is not a good idea to do this too often because there's a lot of information, it's pretty hard to take in. So the cycle from the beginning to the end is harder to moderate in terms of specialists who should work with this on the information security side. And the next point, the next stage is working with the budget, approving the budget and getting the budget. We were lucky to have a great marketing team and they help us with the materials and documents. But there are some cases where you have to look for an outsourced solution and it's actually pretty hard. If you try to have a large-scale comprehensive raising awareness program, you should look for someone who could actually help you if you cannot do this yourself. Here are a few examples. What we did, for example, we changed our course. Previously, it looked like this, a very sad person. Nobody wanted to go there, nobody wanted to care about this. A lot of information, too much, too complicated. So we realized that the average age of our company was pretty young. People love TV series, and we understand that this is something that motivates us and our employees. And that's why we changed the theme. We changed it into a different story. And we created in our Sherlock story. We have investigations, we have 3 stages, and each and every employee can become an investigator, special security officer, maybe super agent, who performs and goes through the whole chain of links of events. And that's why we're able to increase the engagement. People started to pass the course not because they had to do so, but also they cared about story, they cared about gamification, maybe play a little bit, maybe just press buttons. It looked pretty. And the number of people who took the course increased in order of magnitude. And then we needed to see how our employees reacted to phishing letters or imitations of phishing letters and emails. I think we didn't have a standard approach because usually it's SOC that deals with the standard approach. So we had a template and we used the real attacks. The data which we get from cybersecurity and cyber intelligence departments, whatever we're from the community, and then we use those templates and we send real cases to our employees. Here on the slide, you can see an example of sendouts created by All Gremlin. This kind of sendout is a very interesting case because we realized that raising awareness can be done in multiple ways. It doesn't have to be for everyone, but you can actually target different employees for information security, and you can involve them in this process so that they can raise their awareness too. Purple teaming, red teaming were also used for their raising awareness, at least as the first stage, just to deliver different payloads. And when we imitated phishing attacks, we also define how often they will be sent out. We prepare reports, we prepare information on people who like to click the links, who like to share their credentials and download attachments. Within this process, we had to teach different users to change their passwords because each entry is when you potentially compromise your credentials. And what I liked the most is the communication campaign. We separate it into different branches. First of all, it's a campaign which we have annually. For example, it's a campaign which we called Super Grinch or Cyber Grinch. Just before the new year, we have a ugly Grinch who comes and tries to destabilize our company by stealing passwords, data, credentials, and so on. In this regard, in 4 years, we've come a long way from testing on just forms and templates, and then we actually have an application which allows you to basically to play. You can enter different rooms and you can get different tasks or quests, and each of those quests related to something relevant this year. For example, this year people started to share their passwords more often, and we paid attention to this. Maybe they started to send corporate information in their personal email. We also paid attention to this and made them into a quest. So this year we created a Telegram bot which helped them to refresh the main terminology and increase the awareness and the terminology and abbreviation acronyms which we use. And we also have single-time campaigns. They can be small, they can be big. For example, we implement a new document and we want to tell everyone about it, share how it works, and decrease the number of additional questions and also decrease the number of potential mistakes and errors. This is what happened in 2022. We had a whole month of cybersecurity in our company. It's actually a huge process, and we understood that a month is probably too much because you have to think of new interesting ideas just to maintain their interest. And we decided to take a non-classical approach. We had screenings, we had storytelling, we had workshops, we had guest clubs. For example, when we invite people from the community who use simple language to tell our colleagues about some interesting cases or examples of incident investigation, ransomware, maybe using artificial intelligence, smart houses, and so on. This also involves or increases the involvement of employees because they can see that information security is not something that happens only at work. They can see it at home when they just visit their internet online bank. So this campaign can be big or can be small, depending on the immediate needs. You probably also faced different attacks, like Big Boss attack, where malicious users faked Telegram accounts or your VPs, and they tried to get some information from you. This is a very, very big targeted thing that somebody received this kind of messages on Telegram, and you had to notify people that this happens. You also had to do it very well, because if we write them on a daily basis and they have a new angle of attack, probably they will ignore it on day 3 or day 4. That is why it is important to add something interesting so that their attention would be hooked. For example, we had our own Telegram channel, Telegram account, and send messages to our own employees so that we would increase the level of communication between them and our information security department. After the program, we need to define and to measure its efficiency. This is quite a prolonged period, it takes a lot of time, and for us, we developed 3 main metrics which we measure in order to understand if we should continue and what kind of results we've achieved. We assess the involvement. Involvement we assess by using communication campaigns and standalone quests, games, or maybe cases. Here on this slide, you can see the changes in involvement when they started to play Cyber Grinch. This is what we started in 2020, and this is what we reached in 2023. I think it's very telling. It means, well, it shows that people started to care more about it, they became more interested in this, and they were involved in this. Next point is phishing attack imitation. Here we have separate several metrics. First is CTR, click-through rate. How many people actually opened an email and then through the link or some kind of file when they entered some credentials or interacted with the content from the email in some way. Here's an interesting thing. Obviously, you have to define the period, how often you should send those emails during the year. If you send them to all the employees of your companies, because the case is that somebody gets them 50 times a year and somebody gets them once a year. So the list of employees who gets those phishing attack emails should be very reasonable, and the same applies to how often they should receive it. Fortunately, the program works. It became a very good friend to us, and the number of incidents, especially human incidents, decreased in multiples. And after we assessed the efficiency, we realized, yes, we can work with this. Based on the results of this program, we update it. Then we see what kind of new problems we need to tackle into the future. Maybe we should remove some interaction points, maybe we should add something. We realized that watching movies was not the most relevant point, because when we have employees and they don't really get a lot of useful information, because it's quite hard to find relevant information, and that is why the movie was not the best choice for us. We also see how often we should do this. Maybe we should change the period, do it more often, do it less often. Then we reapprove the budget and go on with our loop. That is why I hope that my presentation helped you understand that raising awareness is something that works. You can scale it up without some huge costs, and it's something that can help you with your basic issues that you might have in your company. And this is what I wanted to say. If there are any questions, I am ready to answer. And I hope that this meme will not become a reality for you.
Так, начнем с вопроса номер один. Какие
Question number one.
использовать, чтобы обосновать руководству, почему
What kind of arguments should be used to make the top management understand that raising awareness is important? When you go for the second, for the third, for the fourth time, and you show that you decrease the number of incidents, that raising awareness works, that you have less problems, then the top management understands that there is value in your work and they can give you more money. But I think you've heard that we had a whole month of cybersecurity, and I must say it works. You should bring numbers. Businesses care about numbers. You should pay more attention to numbers, and it helps you get bigger budgets too. Question number two. What kind of format do you use to calculate efficiency? We calculate it in percentage. We see each of the metrics. Then we see some changes. Then we use Power BI. And if you care about details, you can write me a message and I will share my templates and how we calculate this. Question number three. Do you need a separate expert to raise awareness, or you can use your own employees who can do this work?
На самом деле сейчас,
Well, actually,
общаясь с коллегами из
when
разных
I talk
направлений
to
в
colleagues
инфоведе, я
from
вижу,
different
что
industries,
компании стали
different areas
выделять
in
отдельных
information
людей, и это
security,
очень
I can see
здорово,
that
потому что
companies now
чем
start
больше
to have a
сотрудников в вашей
dedicated
компании работает,
expert to do
тем
this, and
более
it's great.
скорозатратный
The
это
more
процесс.
people you
Поэтому
have
если
in a
есть
company,
возможность выделить кого-то отдельно,
the
кто
more
будет
time, the more
заниматься
efforts, the
только
more
этим,
costs
это
it requires.
здорово.
So if you
Если
have a
такой
dedicated
возможности
person,
нет,
dedicated
то вы
specialist, that will be
можете
great.
всегда
But
воспользоваться
if you
теми
can't do
ресурсами,
this,
которые
well,
у вас
you can
есть.
always use your own
Допустим, у нас на
resources.
протяжении, уже
For
порядка
example,
5 лет,
in our
да, наш
case, for
отдел
about 5
все
years,
по чуть-чуть занимаются
everyone
повышением
in our
осведомленности.
department
Это тоже
works on
работает,
raising
и никто
awareness,
не
a little bit
жалуется.
here, a little bit there.
Какой годовой
Every
бюджет
little bit
для одного
helps.
сотрудника
Question number
необходим
4.
для
What's
повышения
the yearly budget
осведомленности?
for a
На
single
самом деле это
employee
довольно
to raise
сложный
awareness?
вопрос.
It's actually a very
Наверное,
difficult
я
question to
сразу
answer.
сходу на него не отвечу, но
I
я его
don't think I can
спрошу.
answer it right here, right
Пожалуйста,
now,
человек,
but I
который его
will
задал,
remember it,
напишите,
and
пожалуйста,
please,
мне,
the person
посчитаем
who asked
вместе.
this, please write me a message and we'll calculate it
Видна ли
later.
зависимость между
Question number
возрастом
5.
человека и тем,
Is there
как он
a
реагирует на попытки атаки?
dependency between the
На самом
age of an
деле,
employee and how they
скорее
respond
да,
to
чем нет. То есть,
potential attacks?
чем
I would say
сотрудник
yes. The
моложе,
more
наверное, ближе к
younger,
технике,
the
чем больше
younger
новостей он
a
читает,
specialist, the
чем
more
больше он
news they
вовлекается,
read,
да, в
the
какие-то
more
истории
they
про
are
атаки,
involved in
тем,
different
наверное,
attack
он
stories,
более внимателен к
the
тому, что
more
он
attention
делает,
they
да, к
pay to
тому,
what
там, по
they
каким
do,
ссылкам он переходит.
what kind of links
Но
they
чем
use.
сотрудник
And
более возрастной, да,
the
то,
older
наверное,
an
он
employee
чуть
is,
медленнее открывает письма, поэтому
maybe
есть возможность
they are not
тоже
so quick
быстро
to
успеть
respond.
удалить
So
какой-нибудь
it is
фишинг у
possible
него из
also
почты.
not to get
Так,
to this
снова не
information fast
требуется
enough.
принимать. Так,
Next
для
question.
бигбосса нужно
For
оперативное
Big Boss,
оповещение сотрудников. Как у вас получается быстро упаковать такую коммуникацию? Очень
how do
хороший
you
вопрос.
communicate when
На
working
самом
with
деле
Big
мы
Boss? Because
провели
you have to be
небольшую
really
работу с нашими
fast.
коллегами,
That's a good
которые
question.
отвечают за коммуникацию,
We
и
worked
сделали
with our
условные
colleagues
шаблоны, да,
responsible
на
for
разные
communication, and we
случаи.
created
Например,
different
если
templates for
там,
different
для
situations.
нас
For example,
пришел
if
какой-то фишинг таргетированный,
we
для
have a
того, чтобы
targeted phishing attack,
проинформировать людей,
and in
то
order
есть
to
мы уже
inform
набиваем
our
что-то
employees,
в форму, да, красивую,
we
нарядную,
have a
которая
specific
используется
template, and we then
нашим
fill this template,
направлением, чтобы пользователи понимали, что
and
это
our
мы.
employees would
Уже есть, да,
understand, okay,
какой-то
so
визуальный
first of all, they would understand
ряд,
that
который у них
this is
ассоциируется с
our
информацией об атаках, и мы
this is
просто
our
заполняем эту
template,
форму и
and then
отправляем
we fill in
рассылку.
this
Соответственно,
template
ну,
and
не знаю,
we
наверное,
send
это
them
занимает
information. I
порядка
think it
полчаса
takes
максимум для того, чтобы там
30
подбить
minutes,
все
half an
цифры
hour
и внести
in order
эту
to fill
информацию.
in this information
Наверное,
and
на текущий момент
to
вопросов нет.
communicate the
И
problem.
я бы
I
хотела
believe this is
уточнить,
all with
человек,
the
который
questions.
задал вопрос про Биг Босса, он с нами в зале,
And do we have the big
товарищ
boss
в
question
кепке.
person here? Yes,
Сейчас
it's a
наши
person
коллеги
with
вас
a hat, with a baseball
поздравят
hat, and
с таким
our
отличным
colleagues
вопросом.
congratulate
Спасибо
you
за
on
него.
this great question. Thank you.
И всем спасибо. До
And you
новых встреч.
receive a special gift.
Будьте в
Thank you very much
безопасности.
for your attention and be secure.